everybody. Once again, I want to say hi and welcome all of you. And I'll say good evening, because it is evening. I'll say good afternoon and good morning too, just in case I don't see you tomorrow morning. So I'll see what happens. All right, I'm in a mood tonight, so put up with me tonight. We'll see what happens. Okay, I want to start off by doing a reading, one of my favorite readings in the language of letting go. And it's from August the 1st, and it's on gratitude. We learned the magical lesson that making the most of what we have turns it into more. Say thank you until you mean it. Thank God, life, and the universe for everyone and everything sent your way. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger to a friend. It turns problems into gifts, failures into successes, the unexpected into perfect timing, and mistakes into important events. It can turn an existence into a real life, and disconnected situations also into important and beneficial lessons. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Gratitude makes things right. Gratitude turns negative energy into positive energy. There is no situation or circumstance so small or large that is not susceptible to gratitude's power. We can start with who we are and what we have today. Apply gratitude and let it work its magic. Say thank you until you mean it. If you say it long enough, you'll believe it. Today, I will shine the transforming light of gratitude on every circumstance of my life. I wanted to share that because we're going to start a new series tonight. And this is one of my favorite series entitled The 9 Gifts of Gratitude. So what I want to do over the next 9 weeks is put together what I refer to as a mosaic. I call it the mosaic of life. And really, in reality, the mosaic is geared towards looking at 9 gratitude points. If we can really live by them and connect with them, then literally they will help us to live a healthy and beautiful life. They'll look at life with positive attitudes. What I love so much about this concept is that we basically understand that gratitude is based around something called an attitude. So I always share this, and I believe it very deeply. In order for this to really work, the journey of life, we have to have an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of acceptance, an attitude of humility, and an attitude of love. The moment of our birth, when we came into this world, God gave every one of us 3 beautiful gifts, 3 tremendous gifts. He gave us the gift of life. He gave us the gift of love, and he gave us the gift of free will. He gave us these gifts knowing that he was going to send us on a journey. And each one of our journeys is unique and special. To send us on a journey into a world that was dysfunctional, that had its ups and downs, had its beauty, and at the same time had its troubles. But he understood something, that every piece of growth in life comes through struggle, comes through responsibility, comes through earning, comes through the concept of the journey of life really is all about. So tonight we're going to talk about the gratitude of life, because I believe very deeply one of the greatest gifts God gave to each and every one of us is the gift of life. When I woke up this morning, the first thing I say every morning, thank you, God. Thank you for another gift and for another day. You know, we don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, I've had the wonderful gift from God of having a lot of days on this earth so far. That's the fun part about being 81. Someday I'll count them all up. But the bottom line is I realize something. I've got to make sure I'm grateful for every day, no matter what the day brings, no matter what I have to experience. And it's amazing. So you look at life, you see how life takes us on a journey. But that journey that we're talking about It's a journey all of us are on. That journey has all kinds of components to it. So I want to kind of share with you tonight 4 basic areas of our journey in life. We all know what they are: physical, emotional, spiritual, and social. We are basically human beings. And because we have a thing called the physical body. I call it a housing. See, God gave each and every one of us a unique physical body. Our bodies have its ups and it has its downs. It may have its shortcomings. But the beautiful concept is that somehow, some way, we're able to look inside this body and to see the spirit that's within. Our spirit is a part of us that makes us who we really are. And that's why every one of us in this room are individuals. Each one of us is unique. Each one of us is special. And that's why we're different from everybody else. And as a result, then we have to be able to acknowledge our uniqueness. But we're like anybody else because it's almost like we have these gifts inside of us. We come into the world, and sometimes we forget that we have them because we have this little thing inside of us called, the overgrown ego that takes over. And we basically think that, well, I don't really need those gifts because I have my own gifts and I can run everything myself. But we're like, because we're human, we like to play that game. So we get tired of playing it. So we get a headache. I call it the capatos game. In Italian, that means the brickhead game. I got to do it the hard way first. I got to beat the hell out of myself and then come to what we call the awakening. And the amazing part about this is what life really is all about, because we have to go on this journey, this struggle. And sometimes we have to be able to forget things that are important to rediscover them. And that's what this aspect of recovery really is all about. It's rediscovering the gifts that we really have and being able to put them forward. We have to learn the gift of gratitude. Gratitude is such a powerful spiritual word, but it takes time to learn it. I use an example, I've used it before. It's probably the most powerful examples I've learned in my life. Actually, two good examples. When I was a priest, one of the hospitals I used to visit was a naval hospital in Philadelphia. And I met a gentleman there. He was from the Navy and had been in the hospital for a long period of time because he was involved in an explosion and had lost parts of both of his arms and parts of both of his legs. They had made a special wheelchair for him, and he would actually drive the wheelchair by being able to push the buttons from the stub that he had on his arm. And the thing I loved so much about him was the positive attitude he had, how he visioned life. But he told me something. He said, this didn't happen overnight, Vince. He said, I had to go through a lot of struggle, a lot of self-pity, a lot of being hard on myself, a lot of beating myself up, till I finally was I was able to turn that corner and begin to look at myself through the eyes of gratitude and be grateful for the gift of life. I love so much about him was his attitude changed. And literally, he would go around the hospital in his little wheelchair, visiting other patients and trying to help them to pass on the gratitude he had for what he had in his life. Sometimes we have a tendency to take a lot of things for granted. A good friend of mine in one of my recovery programs mentioned this the other day and actually brought this up, and it made a lot of sense to me. She said, my partner said something to me the other day. He said, did you ever stop and just take a moment and look at your arms and say, I'm grateful for them? Look at your legs and say, I'm grateful for them. Look at all the things you have inside of yourself physically and say, I'm grateful for them. To be able to thank God for the people around us that we're grateful for them. And it's a beautiful thing to experience. It's a beautiful, Denise just gave Charlie a kiss on the head and thanked him. She's grateful for him. And that's what it's all about. But it's that beautiful gratitude that's so important. And I've learned over the years is sometimes we look at things and we look at this body, but it's not what it looks like on the outside. It's what it is on the inside. That's where the real spirit of gratitude is. I told you the story before, but when I was a priest, I also used to do a day of recollection for paraplegics. And a very good friend of mine is a paraplegic. That's how I got to do this day of recollection. And I met some very beautiful gentlemen there. This one gentleman I met, who really was in a horrific accident. His body was pretty well twisted up, but he was on a wheelchair, and you would think, but boy, he looked at life so differently. And he said to me, Vince, I had to almost lose everything to find out everything that I had. It's almost like I took so much for granted for so long. And as a result of that accident, I had to readjust my whole entire life. I had to change my life. And today, I look at it totally differently. And I hope and pray that I can carry a positive message to other people, to appreciate who they are, to appreciate the little things of life, and to have an attitude of gratitude and thanksgiving for every little gift, every little moment, all the things. And sometimes I think we get caught up in being a little bit too proud, and we get into the concept of, I want things to be differently. I wish I had this, I wish I had that. I always remember the story of a gentleman that was on the Today Show quite a number of years ago. He had won the lottery in New York, and he had won quite a bit. I don't know how much it was. It was in the millions. I know that. Anyway, he came on the show to say that it was the worst thing that ever happened to him. When he won that money, he really thought he had reached, the end of the rainbow, that he had everything now, and he ended up having nothing. He said his life was turned into total chaos, loaded with lawyers, lawsuits, all kinds of people coming after him. He said he never had so much horror in his life before, because he really thought this material pleasure thing that he had won was going to bring him happiness. What I learned from that, and I learned from everything else I do in life, is that inside is the little things that count. I know everybody gets mad at me, but the thing I always love talking about is it kind of reminds me of Starting Point, because we never really had a lot. We kind of made it from month to month, from season to season, and we keep rolling along, and God takes care of things. You have to have faith, have the gift of gratitude. I'll get hit tomorrow when I get to the office, but that's okay. But I really love that concept, because I really believe faith, trust, gratitude, love. These are the gifts of life. And we have to learn not to take them for granted. On an emotional level, we have to realize the fact that we have feelings. Our feelings are wonderful, even though sometimes they're crazy. That's okay. But don't be afraid of your feelings. They're neither right nor wrong. They're just feelings. It's just wonderful that we can have them, that we can hurt, that we can feel things in the course of our journey. We're going to go through loss. We're going to go through grieving. We're going to go through sadness. We're going to go through joy. We're going to go through celebration. We're going to go through all these mixed feelings. That's why I use the term mosaic, because a true mosaic has all kinds of things in it, all different directions in it. And so if we have that gratitude for life and acknowledge that gift and celebrate that gift, then we'll be able to get in touch with our feelings, be able to share them, talk about them, and we'll be able to cry and feel our feelings on the inside. We go through struggles constantly, and struggles are part of what the journey of life is supposed to be all about. I want to use an example I've used plenty of times, and I love this example. And this is especially for all the wonderful mommies in here. How many mommies we got in here? We got quite a few. But the bottom line is, they understand this more than I do or any man does. At the moment of a child's birth, I want you to visualize a little baby in the womb of a mother. And that little baby is warm, it's comfortable, and it likes it there. Then it's time for that little baby to leave. It don't want to leave. It says, why should I go out there? What, are you crazy? But then they have this doctor on the other end that says, push, push. And you have a little baby saying, no, no. Doctor keeps saying, push and push. The journey to the outside world is a struggle. And mommies know what I'm talking about. And it's painful. And once he gets to the outside world, then the doctor picks him up and slaps him. Hey, I was nice and comfortable inside a room. And all of a sudden, I had to go on this journey. I had to go through this struggle. Then I get slapped. Welcome to the world, kid. It's all part of the journey you're on now. And mothers know the moment of that birth, you forget the pain. The joy comes into play. The combination of pain and joy and celebration. So it's almost like this mixed bag that we're involved in life. It's a mixture of so many different types of feelings and emotions and things that go through us. There are some days when, I don't know, I have them, I'm sure you do too. Some days when you just want to stay in the house, get under the covers, pull the shades down, and tell everybody to go away. They don't go away anyway, but you have to tell them that anyway. But the bottom line is we have those days, and that's okay. We also have the days when we're alive and celebrating and enjoying, and life is, the top of the mountain. It's such a wonderful mixture of emotions and feelings and everything else. This is what life is supposed to be, this constant mixture of so many things. And as a result, then we realize the fact that our emotions make up a big part of who we are. We celebrate that with gratitude. We're also spiritual creatures. We have a spirit that makes us who we are. We're in touch with the inner circles of ourselves. We're on a journey of discovering more about ourselves as people, but we all do it the hard way. I use myself as an example. The first 44 years of my life, I got to be very honest with you, they were kind of tough because I basically lived in a shell. I was closed off. I had no idea who I was, but I basically was able to survive, as many of us have done in life. And that's the sad part about life sometimes. We just survive, we don't live. And so as a result, then I literally was able to function externally. I was able to get things done. I was able to function into the outside world. I appeared to be all together, but I had so much garbage buried inside of me. And I was so shut down and so closed off. And as a result, I ended up with an addiction. I ended up with a nervous breakdown. I ended up with all kinds of craziness in my life. I ended up with health problems. And as a result of all that, it took me to go through my own awakening and my own journey to begin the process of change. They have an old saying in AA, and I guess it makes a lot of sense to me now. It says you have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. In short, you got to wear out. Then once you wear out, then you're ready to do what you have to do. And so spiritually, we have a connection to a higher power. Connection is something greater than us. It really is about faith. It's about trust. It's about opening up. It's about moving in new directions. It's about acceptance. To me, it's such a beautiful spiritual word. Acceptance of who we are. Acceptance of our gifts. Acceptance of the reality of our life. I'm not different than you, and there are times when I want to live in fantasy. But fantasy is wonderful and great, but eventually it becomes reality. Then it becomes adjustment. Then it becomes growth. See, in life, we're in this constant process. We look at the top of the world, we think it's great and wonderful, then change takes place, then things happen. Then we got to move, we have to adjust accordingly. And adjustment is another spiritual word. It's part of life. It's our interconnection with life. So we're constantly adjusting to new things, new directions, new concepts. It's how it's supposed to be. I mean, take a look at this. We just came through this pandemic. Look at all the adjustments we've made. I have a new nickname now. I'm called Mr. Zoom. My whole life has changed completely. I never thought I'd be talking to a computer in my life. It's amazing. But the computer has a lot of beautiful faces in it, so I don't mind talking to it. But the bottom line is, it's just amazing. And I never thought my wildest dreams, my wildest imagination, I'd be doing half the things I'm doing today. So even though we went through the horror of a pandemic, we tried to look at, what did I learn from it? How can I grow from it? What are the positive things I can take from it? Like that reading said today, negatives become positives. We can learn and grow from everything in life. So I can look at life negatively, I can look down on it, or I can grow from it. And that often connects with us socially. We're social creatures. We need one another. We interact with one another. We learn from each other. We grow from each other. We need that connection to one another. And that's really what it's really all about, because if we isolate, we die. You know, it's a shame sometimes how people can die while they're alive. The only difference is they forgot to call the undertaker. What can I tell you? But literally, in reality, they shut themselves off. They close themselves off, and they don't interact and connect with people. I'm going to tell you, I said this to you 400 times. I love the human library. I love the stories of people. I love to be able to connect with the people. I look around this room and I can see all kinds of people in here whom I've been connected to in the course of my journey in life. And you're all my teachers. You're all part of my journey, because you're all part of a book being written. Your book is the greatest book on the face of the earth, just like mine is. And we have to experience this and be part of it and celebrate the gift of who we are. And that's why we can't do this alone and by ourselves. It gets lonely. It gets sad. It's much more fun to be around others, even though some of them are going to aggravate you. Some of them are going to be wonderful and great. We have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Ain't that what makes the pot so beautiful? My father used to say when he was cooking, he used to say, you put a little bit of this in, a little bit of that, and a little bit of this in, you stir it up, and you have something wonderful and something great. They used to ask him for his recipes, so he loved to cook. In fact, I lived in a very interesting household where my mother was not allowed in the kitchen. It belonged to my father. It was his kitchen. He made everything homemade. But they used to ask him, Tom, why don't you write some of these recipes down? He says, they're not recipes. They're feelings. I cook with my feelings. I cook with how I feel. So he put stuff together. Man, he was fantastic. What a cook. I wish I did have the recipes. But again, that wasn't his world. He lived in that world. And basically, he loved his kitchen. You know, he was a strange man. I love him. Boy, he cooked dinner for 35 family members every Sunday. We actually had so many people in our house, which was small, that we had no chairs. So we got a 2x6 plank, put it across two chairs so we could sit and eat. You know, I guess that was our dining table, our dining chair. You know, he always doing things like that. He had so much fun, but he enjoyed life. He celebrated life. He enjoyed his food. He enjoyed the things around him. He enjoyed people. He enjoyed all kinds of things. Good God, when I was in the seminary, he'd come to visit me. He'd bring 200 meatball sandwiches with him. Who in their right mind makes 200 meatball sandwiches? He had one for everybody in the seminary. He brought a sandwich for everybody. Totally amazing. His famous meatball sandwiches. He'd come down the shore to visit our family. He had his satchel with him. He'd get off the train. And he had his chicken cutlets and his veal cutlets. So he would cook for everybody down the shore. You know, he was always carrying something. When I was a kid, he'd wake me up on his day off from work. He worked on the railroad besides. And he'd wake me up and say, let's go for a ride. Where are we going? We're going to Pittsburgh today. Okay. We get on the train, ride to Pittsburgh, get off the train. Always had the satchel, though. We had a picnic in Pittsburgh, got back on the train and rode home. Of course, there were the days of the old steam trains, too. But it was a lot of fun. But see, it's almost like this attitude. And I know how much we needed this social concept, the connection to one another. You know, sometimes we live in a world today, we get a little bit overspoiled. I remember as a kid, you know, we lived in Camden and we didn't have any air conditioning. So in the real hot days, we actually slept outside on the steps and on the benches. It was amazing. But the whole neighborhood was out there. We all interacted with each other. We spent time with each other. You know, we shot the bull with each other. We laughed. We did all kinds of crazy things. We need that in our life. That's why I love the concept of people in recovery getting together. Some of the best meetings I've ever been to have been at the diner after the meeting, hanging out, just talking, just sharing the social skills, be connected with people. That's what it's really all about. It's the little things that count, not the big things. So we talked about the gift of life. Life can be such an adventure, such a gift. It can be something that's very powerful, but it's what I call a lifeline of the mosaic. As we build this mosaic, remember, life is the foundation of the mosaic. Without life, we can't have the rest of it. And that's why it's so important to begin the journey of this mosaic with the concept of the gift of life. Because our life is the mosaic. Our life is the journey. Our life are the pieces we put together, the experiences, our hopes, our failures, our losses, our connections, our celebrations, our joy, our sadness. Wow. All that stuff is so wonderful and so great. And yet, it's stuff we just have to go through. We have to feel. We got to be in touch with. We have to celebrate. We have to be open to it. God, that's fantastic, isn't it? So look at your life in a very powerful way today of gratitude. Be grateful for the struggles you've gone through. Even be grateful for the losses, because losses are part of life. Letting go of things from the past. I mean, I joke about it today, but there's things I used to be able to do I can't do anymore. I picked up mulch for our house out here, and they got 50-pound bags of mulch. The old me used to pick them up and throw them in a trunk. Now I want to pick them up, and guess what? I can't pick them up. So I had to ask the guy at the place, will you give me a hand putting these in the trunk? And I got home, I called my wife, I said, come on, gotta do this together. We put it down, then the two of us dragged it into the garage. And yet, what are you gonna do? You have to accept the fact that you can't do the things you used to do. So I'm learning more and more adjustment, constantly adjusting. So go back to those spiritual words I talked about in the beginning. The attitude of gratitude, humility. Beautiful word. We'll talk more about this as we go along. The gift of humility, the gift of learning, the gift of growing, the gift of acceptance. To accept the reality of where we are, and then to be able to move forward. I'm going to tell you a secret. Excuse me. Don't tell anybody. You can't move forward until you accept where you are. Otherwise, you're moving backwards. And so we're all on the journey. It's a wonderful journey called life. Celebrate it, honor it, be connected to it. But realize this is a journey we're all on. How long we'll be on it? I don't know. All I know is I'm on it for today. I don't know about tomorrow. None of us do. If it comes, great. If it doesn't, what can I tell you? Before I go to bed at night, I'm on my knees and I say to God, God, I want to say goodnight to you now. And, if I get a chance, if I happen to wake up in the morning, I'll say good morning to you. If not, I'll catch you on the other side. It's part of my night prayers at night. Because I don't know about tomorrow. None of us do. And that's okay. We get all caught up sometimes as we get older and we say, oh, I'm at the tail end of life. No, you're not. You're at the celebration of today, celebration of the moment. We try to be as positive as we can be. We try to be as open as we can be. We try to be people that are just on a journey, but do it together. Don't do it alone. Remember, loneliness destroys a lot of people. Addiction, all these things. And sometimes we got to go feel that and be in touch with it to finally reach out and touch one another and be part of each other and celebrate with each other. So be grateful for all the people in your life, no matter who they are, for all the people that have crossed your path. Sometimes they're going to drive you nuts. Like today, it was like somebody, Loretta said, they opened the floodgates at Starting Point, and we got referrals coming off the roof. I think they're hanging up on the roof, waiting to come back down again. It's just amazing where they're all coming from. And so I was actually on the phone right up until 6:30 tonight, processing some referrals and getting people counselors. It's just amazing. It really is. It's like the doors opened and here they come, but it's okay. Eventually it all gets done. And now it's time just to be able to be at peace with yourself on the inside. And so it's a beautiful thing about life. Life is that wonderful journey. Just be open to it. So we'll continue the journey next week and talk about the gift of family. But remember, all growth takes place in the family system. We can't do it alone. And we'll talk a lot about that in the concept of different families and our connection to them, which is so important. It's part of our journey. Another piece of the mosaic as we put it together. And so my prayer tonight is something very simple. Just to ask the higher power to guide us. Be grateful for those who have gone before us. So let us pray. God, we come before you in a sense of humility. We come before you asking your guidance and your direction. But above all, we come before you in gratitude and hope. We thank you in a very special way for all those who have gone before us, all of our teachers, all those who are part of our journey. We thank you in a special way for each and every one of them. As we continue the journey of life, we're grateful for all the journeys you've taken us on. Teach us to have an attitude of gratitude, to be open to the journey, and to be able to celebrate the journey in the course of our day. Teach us to be open to the struggles, to be open to the losses, to be open to all the things we have to go through. But know, if we ask your help and we ask your direction, you will walk right alongside of us and you will guide us. You will send messengers and guides into our life. We thank you, God, for those who have gone before us. As we look at the wall of starting point, the memorial wall, all the beautiful names that are on that wall, they're all part of our journey. They're all connected to us. We thank you for each and every one of them. We're grateful deep down inside for the people we're connected to today. And we are open to the vision of tomorrow. And so we thank you for the past in gratitude, for the lessons hopefully we've learned. We're grateful especially for today. And we're open to wherever the journey takes us in the future. We ask your guidance, your direction, and we ask that you walk with us on our journey. And we ask this in your name. Amen. And I'm going to ask if you don't mind unmuting, and we'll close by doing the we version of the Serenity Prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not mine, be done.